Once upon a time, after the passing of Buddha, there ruled a kind king named a seeker. His kingdom was known for its compassion, reflecting his benevolent rule. King A Seeker was blessed with a son whose eyes rivaled the beauty of the Canalla, an exquisite Indian bird celebrated for its entrancing gaze. As a token of his fondness for this bird, the king named his son Canalla. Prince Canalla grew up to be a remarkably handsome young man. He conducted himself with grace and kindness. King A Seeker, a devout Buddhist, brought his son to a temple one day to inquire about the teachings of Buddhism. He sought the wisdom of a monk named Yasha. Upon gazing at the young prince, Yasha expounded, "Human life is impermanent. It follows the cycles of birth, aging, illness, and ultimately, death. The human existence is fraught with impurities. Can anyone maintain eternal youth? These aspects are but illusions." In the same breath, he continued, "Just like how the prince's eyes appear beautiful, they, too, conceal impurity and are the source of trouble." The young prince was bewildered. He had always been showered with compliments about his beautiful eyes. Why then did the monk insist that they were tainted and troublesome? These words lingered in his thoughts, perplexing him. Within the royal palace, several concubines resided. One among them was particularly enchanted by Canalla's stunning looks. When she spotted him alone in the garden one day, she made advances, attempting to seduce him. However, the prince, true to his righteous nature, resisted her advances and distanced himself, determined to uphold his moral integrity. Later, when Prince Canalla reached the age suitable for marriage, King A Seeker found a suitable wife for him. Witnessing the love of her dreams married to another, the young concubine's infatuation quickly transformed into intense jealousy and hatred. A twist of fate came about as the king fell ill, and the young concubine diligently cared for him until his recovery. Grateful for her care, the king offered her anything she desired as a gesture of his gratitude. She sought to rule the kingdom for 7 days. The king, bound by his word and believing it to be a brief span, consented to her request. While in power, the young lady composed a letter, which overflowed with love and animosity, addressed to Prince Canalla. In the letter, she declared that her rage could only be quelled if she never laid eyes on him again. Now, the prince comprehended the true meaning behind Yasha's words. Yet, it was too late to rectify the situation. Her words held the authority of the king's command and were impossible to disobey. Thus, with reluctance, Canalla gouged out one of his eyes and held it in his hand, deeming it a vile and repulsive thing. At this moment, he realized the incongruity between his physical appearance, which had been lauded for its beauty, and the havoc it had wreaked. Fearing her hatred and driven by an impulse to free himself of her affections, he chose to remove his other eye. He now stood before her, bereft of sight, but with his mind flooded with newfound clarity and enlightenment. When his wife received the news, she rushed to him, weeping and deeply concerned. The prince, however, remained remarkably composed. He consoled her with Buddhist teachings, emphasizing the impermanence of human life. His words bore the wisdom that grudges and worries are our ultimate foes. At this juncture, a bodyguard voiced concerns, alerting the prince that his life might be in jeopardy if he continued to reside in the palace. This realization dawned upon the prince, who was already aware of the potential dangers and did not wish to burden the court lady with the potential potential consequences of her actions. Consequently, he and his wife fled the palace, embarking on a life of uncertainty and humility. Over the years, they acquired the skill of playing the lute and singing, wandering from town to town, and sharing their music on the streets. Passers-by would toss coins their way, enabling them to sustain themselves. Years later, by an unexpected twist of fate, they found themselves back in the capital. As they sang on the streets one day, their voices carried to the nearby palace. The king, moved by the enchanting yet mournful songs, experienced a rush of memories, particularly of the son who had vanished many years ago. As he beheld the blind lute player before him, he finally recognized his long-lost son. The sight of Prince Canalla, who had once been royalty, now reduced to a blind musician performing on the streets, shattered the king's heart. Curious about what had befallen his son, King Seeker inquired about the circumstances that had led to his son's plight. The prince, upholding the wisdom of Buddhism, began to speak of the profound truths he had uncovered, hoping that his father would come to understand. The ministers and guards, unable to bear the situation any longer, divulged the truth to the king. Overwhelmed by anger, the king was determined to execute the young concubine, but Prince Canalla, in an act of astounding compassion, pleaded for her forgiveness. The king, deeply moved by his son's magnanimity, spared the young concubine. However, consumed by her guilt, she was unable to live with the consequences of her impure love and the harm she had caused to others. In the end, she took her own life. Her love, which had devolved into obsession and jealousy, had only created turmoil, hatred, and ultimately led to her own self-destruction. In this tale, we discover that beauty is not merely skin deep. True beauty resides in the purity of one's heart and mind. Emotions, both positive and negative, can be pure or impure, and they should never coexist. Genuine love should never be destructive, and jealousy must never be allowed to take root. True love is compassionate, all-forgiving, and founded on genuine purity. This story is a profound reminder that the fleeting nature of human existence underscores the importance of utilizing our time wisely. Avoid causing harm to others or harboring impure thoughts and actions. Instead, strive to be a good person and make the most of the time you have in this world. This is Inspira Motivation Stories. If you are new, please comment below about the story and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching, and may you be